The Speed Up Sound with Kyle Meredith.
Cool. Speed of sound. I'm Kyle Meredith. I've got one of my all-time favorite people in the world. Back on the show, Ms. Grace Potter.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Big new solo record.
I know. This is crazy.
It's an exciting
Last
year.
time we hung out was what, at Forecastle?
It was a forecastle, yeah.
I remember there
we
was
were
like
between
mermaids.
four boobs.
There was mermaids, yeah.
We were between four boobs, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
So there's no ferns. There's no boobs. What are we going to do?
I mean, I have some ideas, but I'll get in trouble for saying them. So it's not that. It's not that. No, seriously, congratulations. This is exciting. It's all exciting. But before we get into it, I don't want to get this lost inside the interview, and I want to congratulate you because I read about this Harry Chapin Vanguard Award.
Yeah.
What is this? You've been defending world hunger, I hear, and doing great things for the world.
You know, I have worked hard, but it's one of those things when you're a musician, you don't really think about the effort that you're putting into anything else, and people just want to talk about the music. So when you have the opportunity to take a chance to really address an issue that is beyond an issue, food, feeding people, and not only food, but where it comes from, and changing the inherent way in which humans develop, grow, and understand where food comes from. Because kids, unless you grew up in a farm country or in a farm community, which I luckily did, they don't really know where a carrot grows or even what it looks like when it comes out of the ground, you know, and for me, that feels important, and it was always a part of my school. Like, had a garden where we could see where it was growing, and then actually eat that, you know. And it's been an evolving process, but I've put a lot of time into that. The humanitarian award that I got was sort of a spread of things. It was all my philanthropic work that I've done. My brother has epilepsy, so I do a lot of work with the Epilepsy Association as well as the Alzheimer's Foundation. So there's a lot of the Alzheimer's Association is one that I've put the most time into publicly. Yeah. So a lot of people know about that. But the food thing it's just inherently a part of who I am. And if you hang out with me long enough, like, I'm going to try to feed you and I'm going to try to show you a recipe, or I'm going to ask where the local farmer's market is.
Right.
It just, it takes more than just filling a food shelf full of cans of beans. You know, I think it's easy to act when you just want to feed people. It's more about education.
Yeah. For an artist, and I don't think an artist has to crusade for anything, but I think when you have a platform, it's really nice if you can give a little something back if you have that opportunity. For you, I mean, did this just come about naturally and you found yourself inside this and doing this, or did you think to yourself, I have a chance, I can do something, I can, you know, and then you kind of zone in on what that is?
I started this before I had any clout whatsoever. Yeah. Nobody cared what I had to say. I was just a girl that wanted to get organic food in my high school, you know, and so it starts from a place of not using fame to get what you want. I have a real problem with the soapbox singers. I actually, not all of them, but there's some musicians who they actually market themselves as philanthropists, you know, and that's something I want to be really careful not to do. There's a really fine line between doing good and then making your money because you're a do-gooder, you know, and I've been cautious not to sort of tout I think it takes a balance. It just takes balance. So, when I take a trip to Colombia, for example, for the fair trade, you know, and I start to meet family farms who, you know, farmers who are growing coffee and understanding like the biodynamic nature in which that coffee has to grow also involves bananas and blueberries, and there's bushes of what is that fruit over there, and learning and being hands-on about it. That's just something I would do if I was a musician or not, you know? So I think the fact that I've become somewhat of a public figure and somebody that people are listening to, it's just you know, a nail in the coffin of my of my intentions here, because I really want to do good, and I think I would have done this no matter what I did.
And you can make a difference now. You can make a strong difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in a sort of a different way, you know, the First Lady, that's kind of been her crusade, you know, getting better food into schools and things like that. And And then on the flip side, I know that your home state is battling its own deals up there with Neil Young blowing the trumpet.
I know.
These days,
Neil was just in Vermont 2 days ago, and it was great to see him kind of finally arrive in the state that he's been. He's very proud of Vermont. He's really, obviously has a lot to say. And I think for a musician to do that, you can do it artfully. But you're not gonna find me singing songs about planting seeds in the ground anytime soon.
The Monsanto Years album is not coming.
I'm
for
not
you.
I'm not doing that.
Right,
I'm not.
right.
I'm just not. It's not.
And
I'm
that's
not
okay, by
Woody
the way.
Guthrie.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think I'm here to entertain, and I'm here to. I love music that makes people feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea that yes, there's amazing topics that can be talked about and they can be covered just like in a film that you love. You can cover some pretty heavy stuff, but you can do it musically. I have a problem with singers who don't do it musically. They just want to talk about problems.
Well, that is an excellent transition to the new record.
Yeah.
So it's a solo record.
Yes, it is.
You decided to go it alone? I mean, that's a firm decision. I'm going to do this by myself.
It wasn't a firm decision at the beginning. In fact, I thought this was a Nocturnals record. I was making this record and writing these songs.
I mean, there's a bit of a lineage, I guess, between from Never Go Back.
Yeah.
On the Beast. Yeah.
When Dan Auerbach and I started writing a little bit together on the last record, he was using beats and he was building things from the drums up. And that's a technique that I had never tried before. Yeah. So that was really cool for me. I learned from him. He really does fish for the best sounds based on what the kids are listening to and not in a pandering way. Yeah. I feel like he knows he's not going, what do the kids do? Let's do that again.
It's not
he's
the Aerosmith
let's
syndrome.
make it better. Yeah, no,
right.
It's like let's guide them. Let's guide young people's ears in a direction that's gonna continue to sound current and relevant and yet totally not what you might hear on Top 40 now. But you got to kind of earn your way up the rungs. And so my issue is you can't complain about pop music and say that it's awful and oh my God, what are the kids listening to these days if you're not joining the conversation.
You have to make good pop music.
You have to join in a little bit if you're gonna do that. So that was the intention with this record, and it was the intention with the Nocturnals. Mm-hmm. But as the music took shape, and I was demoing everything up myself, so I was kind of playing producer for a few months there, just on my own with building the songs from the beat up. I'd never done it before, and it was so different. Yeah. And, when the band heard the demos, they knew it was different. They came in and recorded anyways. And so the Nocturnals are on the record, all over the record, actually. So and they're also on stage with me.
It's kind of like Tom Petty's Wildflowers, which had them on it, just not...
And with Full Moon Fever as well.
Yeah,
I think, Full Moon Fever, they all toured, and it's the same deal with this, the Magical Midnight Roadshow, which is my ever-evolving lineup of new members that are coming into the mix for the live show. It's Nocturnals, it's new faces, it's people that you've seen from other bands. We got Tim Doe from the Wigs, which is great.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Big fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing collection of people. And it's an opportunity to realize how much of music I was missing out on because I was writing very specifically for the last 12 years. I've been writing specifically for the sound of the Nocturnals. It's a sound that I've built and nurtured, and it's a legacy that I want to protect, just kind of like Neil Young and Crazy Horse in a way. It's like not every Neil record is a Crazy Horse record, but that's because he knows the difference. And so I was in denial for a while, but finally I think I had to recognize the difference.
So is it like stepping off a cliff then, knowing that there are going to be some people that don't follow you from the Nocturnal fans?
Totally.
And all that? Yeah.
I mean,
because it's a pretty bold statement when you come out with Alive Tonight. And you're
it was a big change. I mean, I knew, but I had 8 or 9 months to get used to the idea. So I was like, what's the big deal, people? People were people freaked out. And, everyone was like, we want answers. And the last thing I'm going to do if somebody asks me for an answer is address the question. Right. So I just kind of did my thing and continued getting the band together and rehearsing. And so we stayed really quiet at the beginning on purpose because I miss the era of mystery.
Oh, sure.
I miss when fans freaked out because a band would put out a record and it sounded totally different. Or it was I miss the eras of people fighting over the opening band when Judas Priest was opening for Metallica and everyone was like, oh no. All that kind of tension and controversy is something that I've actually never experienced.
And you like to push the buttons.
Oh, I do.
You're in a nice American flag on your Facebook
I
page, and the comment
know.
thread is beautiful.
Oh, well, I don't read the
Beautiful.
comments, but Benny actually told me about it. Benny was like, gee, did you know that there's some serious stuff going on your Instagram page? I was like, no, but, I did not put it up thinking that people were going to be like, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad she's standing on
What a great American girl.
Yeah. I definitely, I'm a grown-up now, as it turns out, and I didn't realize that for a while, but it's been an interesting process of getting comfortable in my own skin and acknowledging that there are conversations I want to have and there's conversations I don't need to have.
Right.
I've done a lot of explaining myself, a lot of like, we for like 12 years. I've constantly sort of been like, here's the food and the spoon and go in, and I love that because I like to nurture the listener and I like to make people feel like they're getting something good. So this record was an exploration into something that might not be all that good for you. Maybe this is my
Is this the junk food
this
at
is
the
my
end of the meal?
I was gonna say this is like 4-course dessert.
Right.
But at a 5-star restaurant, of course.
Would the Grace Potter of 2005 had wanted to make this record?
Oh, the Grace Potter of 1983, all the way through my entire life. This is all just influences that I've been. It's been a part of me forever. Lionel Richie and I have the same birthday, and he came out with the song All Night Long on the day I was born, as well as his birthday. That song is my favorite song. It was my sort of anthem last summer as I was writing this record. And I feel that it's not to say like the Nocturnals this couldn't have been a Nocturnals record, but it's so obviously not.
I like how you split it with Crazy Horse and it's kind of the same way.
It's just a different sound, and I think it's a little bit it's telling an untruth to try to drag your fans along and market something as one thing if it isn't that, Having said that, it's not that far off. I write the songs for the Nocturnals. I write the songs
you've always
for
been
this,
doing different sounds the whole time. I mean, everybody was kind of weird when you were doing country a little bit. And everybody's
Kenny
weird
Chesney.
when you're right. Yeah.
But like in the same week
not
that
that
I did the
surprising, that's
Kenny
what I mean,
Chesney record, I like flew to Oklahoma City and I was at the Flaming Lips studio all night, doing a Tim Burton track for a Disney movie. There's just never, I don't think we have to choose anymore.
2015, there are no genres.
No.
I mean, the way people listen to music anymore, it's not really.
Not at all.
Speaking of Disney and Hollywood records, I guess, they must be very happy. I feel like this is probably the record as a record label. They've been going, Grace, can you do this record? Could you do this record?
When they heard there's one
solo
song.
record?
Nobody's heard this song yet. It hasn't been released yet, but it's called Delirious. And I remember when I wrote it, I remember being like, I'm just watching sort of the Mickey. I have this image of Mickey just smiling, really broad smile. Look, this is one thing about me is I'm not a good businesswoman. I'm not. I have no idea what's on the radio. I know how to sit here and have a conversation, and I know how to think about music in a way that I feel I'm speaking in an educated way about pop music, but I really don't know what's going on. And I mean, I've sat in rooms with songwriters and been, stuffed into rooms to co-write with people where they're like, well, it has to be above 125 BPM because that's what's on the radio now. Like they think there's a formula to this whole thing. That's the death of the song. That's the death of creativity. And so a lot of people thought that's what happened with this record when they heard Alive Tonight and they heard some of the songs.
Oh, she's gone Max Martin.
Yeah. She went EDM.
Right.
There's no electronic anything. I mean, the record, those are all live drums, you know? It's just that the idea of programming or manipulating a sound into anything other than what is pure and natural and sounds like it's from 1968, it's not cool anymore for some fans. And I appreciate that. I respect it. And I don't judge anybody who is jumping off the Grace Potter bandwagon right now. I think it's fine. Dude,
They'll be back.
I'll be back. I'll circle back
They'll
around.
be back.
Totally.
Did you ever hear the thing where Rivers from Weezer had decided he wanted to construct the perfect alt-rock song? And so he went and he mathematically dictated Nirvana's Nevermind.
That's so Rivers,
He took the math of all of Nirvana's hits and said, this is how you write a song. And that's how you got one of the worst Weezer records.
Well,
that was one of those middle albums.
That's I don't think there's a formula. I think if you start to I was just watching Through the Wormhole about this, and it's that evolution and what happens in biology and the way that we all evolve as cellular beings is completely random, and that's not possible.
Right.
It's not, because we all couldn't come to be in the short amount of time that we've been here and that the earth has existed. I think the same way about music. There needs to be some intention in a song. You need to sit down when you write a song. If you're just randomly grabbing from every pop song from forever, it's just going to look like a pile of cream on the table. It's going to be gross.
And there is plenty of that. In all genres, by the way.
I want to build a souffle. You have to put some intention into that. So, yes, I sat down and said, I'd like to make some music that maybe Hollywood Records could market. But I don't know what that means. So my version of what anyone can market is going to sound something like Delirious, which is a very weird, very cool pop song.
I cannot wait to hear that song.
It's pretty cool.
It's great when Prince did his own, song called Delirious. So you're at a good,
I know.
club right there.
And Midnight, the only other, there's no album called Midnight except for there is a heavy metal band that had a record called Midnight, but Bowie has a song called Midnight.
Right.
So Midnight and Delirious, Prince and Bowie. I'm in the company I want to be.
It's good company. Grace, I'm so excited to hear all of this. Thank you so much.
Yay,
it's great to talk to you again.
It was so good talking to you again.
We'll do it again soon.
I'm glad we hung out in the salon. We had a salon
right here.
We got ourselves coiffed. It was fun.
Between no boobs.
I know. No
with Grace
boobs.
Potter.
No boobs.
All right. That's it.
I just had to do it. I had to do the one blowjob move.
Awesome. Glad you did.
Okay, guys.
We'll just keep it on a meme style.
Yeah,
GIF.
exactly. Just one.
Yeah, we'll GIF it back and forth.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it a GIF or a meme that moves?
No, it's the GIF that moves. The meme is
What he
whatever.
wants.
She won't do the cock sucking motion, but I will.
You know what